Kruger National Park. A sanctuary of life, a symbol of conservation, a place where millions come to witness the untamed spirit of Africa. One of Africa's greatest wilderness areas. A place larger than some countries. And possibly our favorite place on Earth. But it wasn't always this way. "100 years ago today, a journey started." In this video, we want to show you what makes Kruger so special and answer the question.
That was incredible. When people say to me, "Why do you always come back here?" That is why. That is why. He's never the same, and that was unique. Dream sighting, unbelievable.
But before we talk about the now, we have to talk about the past.
Before the creation of the Kruger National Park, much of the land was used for hunting by European hunters, and wildlife numbers subsequently dropped sharply. The first attempt to conserve wildlife in this area was in 1898, when the then President Paul Kruger proclaimed a huge expanse of land be used to preserve the wildlife. This reserve would be known as the Sabie Game Reserve, which in today's situation would have been located in the far south of the park. Then, in 1903, the area around Chingwedzi was proclaimed as a conservation area and was to be known as the Chingwedzi Game Reserve. This area, as it still is today, was much more remote and made wildlife protection against poaching much more difficult. In May 1926, the National Parks Act wanted to incorporate the two Sabie and Chingwedzi reserves into one big reserve, and this proposal was accepted by Parliament. A huge expanse of land purely to conserve Africa's wildlife was brought to fruition. Although the Kruger National Park was formed in 1926, the National Park's first rest camp was built in 1928, allowing tourists to stay in the park overnight. This rest camp was the one and only Pretoriuscop. Pretoriuscop was the guinea pig when it came to rest camps in the Kruger National Park, and if you look at a map around Pretoriuscop, you can see the roads all around camp all cramped together, looking very chaotic.
This actually allows us to catch a glimpse into history and understand what the rangers were faced with. They were tasked with creating roads to help visitors witness wildlife. Very few places in the world were doing this. Self-drive wildlife tourism was very new and emerging.
In 1902, Colonel James Stevenson Hamilton was judiciously selected and appointed as first warden of the Kruger National Park. His experience of being an army officer and sympathetic in matters concerning the animal kingdom all played their role in the successes of his management in the Kruger. In memory of his vigour and enthusiasm to the animal world, he was given the name Skakuza, meaning he who turns things upside down. And today, Kruger's main camp is known by that very same name, dedicated to this man that helped make the park what it is today.
In 1927, only 3 visitors entered the park, followed by 165 the year after. But in 1965, 255,000 visitors entered the park, and today, each year, the Kruger National Park hosts between 1.8 to 2 million people.
You heard that right. Over 1 million domestic visitors and more than 700,000 internationals came from all over the world to visit this park. But why is that? So first of all, Kruger is huge. The national park by itself covers almost 2 million hectares, but if you include unfenced private reserves like the Sabie Sands, Limpopo National Park in Mozambique and Gonarazou National Park in Zimbabwe, animals are able to roam freely across a vast transfrontier conservation landscape of roughly 3.5 million hectares. Just for comparison, this area is larger than Lesotho and nearly as big as the Netherlands. So naturally, in order to get around, you need a good road network. More than 850 kilometers of tar roads allow you to get from A to B relatively quick, but please keep in mind that 50 kilometers an hour is the absolute limit, as animals can come out of nowhere at any time. For that remote, wild feeling on game drives, more than 1,400 kilometers of gravel roads stretch across the park, slithering past waterholes, dams and other wildlife hotspots. And just to give you an idea of size again, the drive from the northernmost camp to the southernmost camp will take over 8 hours of driving the speed limit. And let me tell you, you won't be driving 50 km an hour on average, so around 16 hours is more realistic. And speaking of camps, if you want to stay inside the park, there are 12 main rest camps with shops, restaurants, fuel stations and pools. This is where most of the visitors stay in bungalows, huts or safari tents if they're not out on safari. On top of that, there are bushveld camps, satellite camps and rustic campsites, which are smaller and more basic. Scattered throughout the park you will also find multiple historic sites, 18 lookout points, 12 bird hides and 13 picnic sites. These are perfect spots to get out of the car and learn about Kruger's history, enjoy spectacular views, watch some birds without the noise of the roads, and finally, to cook up a lovely breakfast surrounded by nature. Just watch out for baboons and cheeky velvet monkeys trying to steal your food. And, last but not least, there are 2 sleepover hides. What acts as a normal bird hide during the day transforms into a tiny, private camp at night. Bunk beds fold down from the walls with a mattress and mosquito nets. You get access to an outdoor braai area and both of the hides are right next to a water source. We've stayed at both Sabie sleepover hide, where we spent the coldest night of our lives, and then a year later at Chipandani, where we experienced a literal storm. But while we prefer Chipandani, both of them can be an amazing time if the weather is right. Now onto the most important topic, the wildlife. The iconic Big Five in lion, leopard, elephant, white and black rhino and buffalo can be spotted in great numbers if you know where to look. Plains game from giraffe and zebra all the way to wild dogs, cheetah and pangolins increase the total amount of confirmed mammal species to 147. On top of that, Sandpark lists 336 species of trees, 49 amphibians, 114 reptiles and more than 500 species of birds. But some of these birds are migrants, meaning you can only spot them during certain times of the year.
During the wet summer months from October to April, the park is very hot and humid, so make sure you've got enough deodorant. And the park also gets frequent thunderstorms and heavy rain, so make sure you've got a raincoat. Temperatures can climb to 40 degrees, which means visitors have to be conscious of choosing accommodation in the park with aircon, or they just have to brave it out. The landscape transforms into very lush and dense vegetation, with the rivers swelling and waterholes being filled. This abundance of water and food results in an influx of many young animals being born, in particular the impala. It is also classed as peak birding season due to many migratory birds arriving on the scene to capitalise on the banquet of food. Birds such as the European beaters and the iconic woodland kingfishers are perfect examples. In contrast to the lush summers in Kruger, May to September bring the dry season. Kruger during these months is much milder, with temperatures occurring in the 20s. The mornings start off cold but quickly warm as the sun rises. The landscape is much more sparse and dry, with little rain occurring, resulting in many animals seeking and lingering around water sources. This offers more chance of seeing wildlife, but the environment and landscape being much less lush and vibrant, but because of this, wintertime does offer fantastic game viewing opportunities.
Now, it is a very, very tough choice to make, but you also have to consider one very, very important factor, and I think it's going to persuade most of you listeners.
During the wet, humid summer months, millions of insects are flying, the snakes and scorpions are roaming the bush and occasionally your bed, and spiders are lurking in your shower and in your shoes. This is why Tom and I prefer the milder, beautifully dry and scorpion-free winter months.
But this isn't a weather show, so let's talk about some of our favourite camps.
And we are starting in the southeastern corner of Kruger National Park. Between the Lebombo mountain range and the wide, open plains of the Lowveld region lies one of Kruger's most beloved camps, Lower Sabie Rest Camp. Set right on the banks of the Sabie River, one of the few perennial rivers flowing through Kruger, the camp itself sits in one of the most productive areas of the park. This is not just because of the river, but because of the variety of landscapes that meet around Lower Sabie. To the north, the road leads into a hilly landscape towards Nkumbe lookout point, where you feel as the horizon stretches across the whole park. To the west, the Sabie River Road towards Sokusa follows one of the most scenic river corridors in the park, lined with riverine forests, large trees and open views across the water. And to the south, the area opens up towards Crocodile Bridge, where flatter savanna and grasslands dominate. This large variety of ecozones creates the perfect habitat for a multitude of animals, but more on that later. After a long day of game viewing, one of the most famous sundowner spots in all of Kruger is just 1 minute from the gate. Sunset Dam. Here you can watch hippos, crocodiles and waterbirds as the sun fades to orange. And if you are as lucky as we were, a pack of wild dogs might stroll right past your car. Back inside Lower Sabie, the restaurant deck looks out over the Sabie River. This is one of the best places in Kruger to sit down, enjoy your meal and a cold one, without missing out on an opportunity to spot big game.
The wildlife in this area is unmatched, with high densities of the big cats, big herds of buffalo and elephant, and excellent bird life in and around the water sources. And yes, we can confirm the big cats are in the area. We had lazy lions in the morning, followed by charismatic cheetahs really putting on a show for us right next to the road, a sighting that both Tom and I agree will be very hard to match. And if that wasn't enough, we saw a pair of lustful leopards mating on a termite mound, and to top it all off, wild dogs on the road just past Sunset Dam. Now please, name a more successful day than that. I dare you. Olifants Rest Camp, a truly spectacular camp. The view is unbelievable, offering panoramic views of the bush and Olifants River, all from the comfort of a restaurant chair with a black label in hand. It's located in central Kruger, situated high on a cliff with the Olifants River running below. The camp is medium-sized, with bungalows, guest cottages and guest houses, many with river views. The camp has a well-stocked shop, a small pool, a beautiful restaurant and an outstanding lookout point.
And if you feel like it, you can book drives and walks with professional guides from reception. You can also do this at all other main rest camps in the park, but we definitely both recommend getting Olifants on your bucket list.
For camping, you check in at Olifants Rest Camp's reception, but the campsite itself is located just past the Belule Bridge. Now interestingly, Olifants is a relatively new camp. It did have early beginnings in the 1930s when it was called Olifants Port, which was located where the Belule camp is now, but it only had one hut. Olifants became the major camp it is today in the 1960s when it moved to the top of the cliff when the Parks Board wanted to attract more visitors.
And on top of the amazing scenery around camp, it is also a great spot for game viewing. Especially in the dry season, the large Olifants River attracts a multitude of animals, from hippos and crocodiles to fish eagles and kingfishers, or even predator sightings. And when I think of Olifants, I can only think of the one morning drive that Tom and I had back in 2023. But see for yourselves.
Just incredible. We left gate opening time, you know, one of the first there because we're Kruger nerds. And we sort of driving past and we see hyena, first animal of the day, hyena. Comes onto the road, starts calling, had another clan member with it. Great sighting, we move off. Sunrise on Belule Bridge. Had a great time there, you know, spot some animals. We moved off. Second animal, huge male leopard just crosses the road nonchalantly, just incredible. And then from there, we carried on. Third animal of the day, a pack of wild dogs on the road. Oh, just incredible. Started calling, you captured it.
Yeah, we had one individual on the road, started calling, and then the pack reunited, and it was just started snuggling and stuff. It was just crazy sighting.
Yeah, wild dog, just a magical. And then from that, fourth animal was backpack jackal. It was cool. You know, it just, what a morning that was. It can't get any better.
Just a cherry on top.
Yeah, exactly.
Now onto the northernmost rest camp in Kruger. Punda Maria rest camp is special and just feels kind of unique. As you're driving into the gate, the campsite will pop up on your left, and if you've ever camped there before or slept in your car like I did, you will know this warm, welcoming feeling you get every single time you return. It feels like everyone here knows each other, probably because the far north attracts only certain kinds of like-minded people. Above the campsite, you'll find bungalows that are unlike those in other rest camps, which again just feels unique. Right next door are the shop and the restaurant, which is one of the only ones in the park where you can order pizza. Highly recommended. During the day you can have a stroll around the flycatcher trail, a small pathway that leads you through a little forest. Here you can spot loads of different bird species, specifically the crested guinea fowl and a variety of sunbirds. Now I have spent a lot of nights here, but somehow I managed to completely miss the pool area. I stayed in the bungalows, the campsite, even the cottage outside the gate, but I didn't know it had a pool until Tom told me after my solo trip. Don't ask me how, I hear it's lovely though.
Now, wildlife spotting in the far north of the park is often quieter but more specialised. The vegetation in this area gives an insight into why. The area is dominated by Mapani woodland with fewer open grassland areas compared with down south. However, as the soil is more sandy, you do get to see many large baobab trees, something you do not get to see in southern Kruger. Big herds of elephant and buffalo are present in these areas, with frequent sightings of nyala, kudu and other plains game. The predators are harder to spot and more elusive.
And I have been lucky to see a cheetah mum with 4 cubs and lions on an impala kill, but I have no footage to prove it. I know, professional.
Best chance to see wild dogs are on the S99 loop around camp as it meanders through the hills of Punda. And special tip here, a guide once told us they saw 6 different leopards on a single drive on this loop. So eyes peeled, folks. The real reason people come this far north is to get away from the crowds and experience a completely new aspect of Kruger. The bird life is exceptional in the areas around Pafuri, with crested guinea fowl and Pell's fishing owls among the many species seen here. Serious birders consider this area the best in Kruger for bird spotting. Rare species of antelope such as sable, eland, rowan and Sabie are located here as it's more arid and remote. The Sunni, Kruger's smallest antelope, is also seen here, but only on the S99 loop around camp. And if you thought that was all Punda's wildlife had to offer you, you would be wrong. The S99 loop is also one of the best roads in the park for pangolin. My sister spotted one, and in her shock, called out warthog. And the very rare aardvark or anteater are also seen here, but you must be on sunset or evening drives. Krugeroos, yes, you heard right, are also here in the form of spring hares, Kruger's very own kangaroo, but you will also have to book onto a sunset or evening drive as they're nocturnal. But they are so frequent you will see them, and if you don't, unlucky. Don't come to Punda expecting big cats around every corner. The north hasn't got all the quantity, but it has got the quality and the rarity. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more unbelievably spectacular rest camps. Stunning Shingwedzi with its riverine forests perfect for the leopard, Mapani Magic with its open plains on the Capricorn Loop and stunning restaurant view, Sexy Skakuza with big cats around every corner, albeit with a traffic jam, and many more varied camps. If you're after a more of an untamed, remote feeling, then the Kruger also has you covered with bushveld camps. These are camps such as Tamboti, Biamati and Sereni that are tucked away in the heart of the bush, immersing you in nature without the crowds, noise and distractions of life. Bushveld camps don't have restaurants, shops or petrol stations. You will have to be prepared and bring your own food, but don't let that stop you or intimidate you. It's definitely an incredible experience and allows you to access the heart of the bush first.
This diversity is what makes this park so special. Each camp has its own spark, the landscape changes from hills to open plains to riverine forests, and the wildlife changes along with it. And although flora and fauna depends heavily on the different soil types, ecozones, etc., Kruger is generally divided into the southern section, ranging from the Crocodile River all the way up to the mighty Olifants, and in the northern section towards the Pafuri region. As a rough tendency, people like to say that big game viewing is better down south because more ecozones and habitats collide, giving room to different plants and trees, which attract more herbivores and therefore predators. On top of that, the south is a lot busier because there are more big cities around and it's closer to the international airport in Johannesburg. And when there are more people, there are more eyes to spot leopards in the thickets or cheetah in the long grass. That's why we sometimes talk about lions in traffic jams, which sounds bad, but it can be helpful. For example, we met a German lady at Bergendal who was on yet another solo trip to Kruger. She's been coming for decades, and over time her eyesight has gotten worse, so instead of trying to spot the unspottable leopards, she let other people do the work for her. And on top of that, even down south you can have amazing game drives with barely any cars around, especially on the dirt roads. However, if you like a more quiet and remote experience, like we do, the north is the way to go. Although it can sometimes be hard to spot big game, we've had many amazing sightings there, and for some of them it was just us and the animal. A leopard in the tree next to us, no other cars around, so you can just switch off the engine, enjoy the sounds and the whole experience. So even though your experience depends heavily on the camps and areas you choose, if you know where to go, Kruger's got a corner of the park that suits everyone's preferences, even in terms of budget. A lot of people think going on safari is expensive, and it certainly can be. Private lodges or even special safe drive accommodation with an SUV and restaurant meals 3 times a day can quickly add up to hundreds or even thousands of euros. But on the other hand, you can drive a Suzuki Swift, stay at one of Kruger's campsites or even sleep in your car for as low as 40 euros per night. If you're traveling together or in a group, it can get even cheaper. And the best part, the wildlife does not change based on your daily rate. So to sum it up, Kruger can be cheap or expensive, quiet or busy, and remote or comfortable depending on what you like and where you go. There is so much more to talk about, like the trails camps or the overlanding activities, but these are just some of the reasons why we keep coming back to the park. If you've been to Kruger before, let us know what your experiences have been like in the comments. And if you're planning a trip but you don't know when, how long or where to go, just reach out to us. Together we have spent months inside the park, stayed at all the rest camps and the majority of the smaller camps. We have traveled more than 90% of all the roads from Cook's Corner in the northeast all the way to Majula Waterhole in the southwestern corner of the park. If you would like us to plan your trip, we will send you a questionnaire to find out exactly what you like so that we can use our experience to plan the season, rest camps, routes and everything else specifically tailored to you. Just send us a message on Instagram or on TikTok or just comment down below. But whilst you're at it, you might want to subscribe because the Bergendal video is coming soon. That's it from this video, and I would say we will see you in the next one.